Hello, I'm Richard Popham with Circle P Katahdin. As a member of Kentucky Sheep and Wool Producers Association, I'd like to share a video of how I keep my records. I raise sheep, so that's the terminology I'm going to use. This will also work for goats if that's what you have. I think keeping records is probably one of the most important things you can do raising livestock. It really doesn't matter if you've got 5 sheep or you've got 500 sheep. You need to know which ones are making you money, which ones are costing you money, how they're performing. With good records, you know which ones are doing their job, which ones are not. It really doesn't take as long as you might think to keep good records. You will spend less time keeping good records than you will fighting with animals that just don't do well and trying to figure out why you can't make money with poor doing animals. They all take the same amount of pasture, feed, water, minerals. You might as well give that to good ones as to ones that just want to suck up your resources and cost you money all the time. So whether you've got just a few head of sheep or you've got 1,000 sheep, you just can't remember everything that goes on with every individual one and what their history is, who their mother was, what ram were they born to. Was this a twin? Was it a triplet? Was it a single? You just don't remember after a little bit of time. So you really need to write things down and keep your records. So I'm going to go through here real quick how I do my records. I start out with this book right here. Join your Kentucky Sheep and Wool Producers Association or your Goat Producers Association. You'll get this book. It's really handy. It's easy to take to the barn. It fits in your pocket. You can get a lot of good stuff in here. So here is a picture of my book. There's a lot of little notes in here. I put down where they're twins or triplets, the information from the ewe and the ram, when they were born, their weights, things like that. Notes of where I fostered this one off onto another ewe. I will say, take pictures of your book once in a while. Get your phone out, take a quick picture of it. That way, when it falls in the water bucket, when somebody decides it's an appetizer and they chew it up, you haven't lost all your records. Now, the way I keep my records is with Excel. It's a program a lot of people have got. You can buy other programs. You can use Herd Boss. You can use Ranch Manager. But since I had Excel, I just used that. It took me a while to get it set up the way I want it. And you are certainly welcome to a copy of what I have set up if you would like to use that. Right now, what I'll do is I'll just run through how I do that in Excel. So if you get a copy of it, you'll know what to expect. This is a view of my records. Now, it may look like a lot. There's a lot of information in here, but it's really not that hard to do this. I tried to set it up so somebody else can use this if they want to. A lot of the entries are done with drop-down menus, so you don't have to type so much. It makes it easier to keep on your phone. I keep it stored on a cloud drive. That way I can look it up on my phone or I can look it up on my laptop, either one. If I make changes on my phone, next time I pull it up on the laptop, those changes are there. So that works out pretty well for me, and I don't have to pay any fees for doing that. Let's start out. I'm going to show you how I do this. If you get a copy of this program, it's probably going to open up like this. It's an instructions tab. It has a lot of information here of what the information means, how you enter it. It'll be something you can refer to of how to use this. Yes, I did put in a shameless plug for myself here because I did put a lot of work over the years getting this set up, and I wanted to. So the way we'll start out is you'll click on your Use tab down here. It brings up this page. You simply put in your UID. I've put some examples in here. You can just type right over those to put in whatever you need, whether you give her a name, you give her a number, however you ID your animals. You put in their ID, you put in a birth date for them. When were they born? If you don't know exactly when they're born, just try to guesstimate it, put in something close. This information is used in some of the calculations, so try to get something reasonably close. Their birth type. Was this ewe born a triplet, a twin, a single? What size litter did she come from? And again, this is a drop-down menu. Click on the cell, you get the little arrow here, click on that. It gives you your options that you want to pick. Pick the one that applies. If you end up with something in there that, oh, that's not right, I really don't even know what she was born as, click the blank at the bottom and it takes that out. So we can put those in there. If you notice when you put in her birth date, it automatically calculated her age. And that's one thing I want to bring up is all these pink and white cells they're locked. If you try to click on them, you can't even access these cells. That's where all the formulas are that make this thing work. And so don't worry about messing this thing up. I don't think you can. The green areas is where you will enter information, whether that be something you type in or it's a drop-down menu for you to select from. This is where you put your information in. For your ewes, you put in your UID, you put in their birth date, the birth type, the registration numbers, this stuff out here. If you don't know it, don't put it in. Don't worry about it. It's information you'll have if you need it. If you don't have it, well, you don't have it. Up here at the top, this is where you can put in your NSIP number if you're enrolled in the National Sheep Improvement Program. You can put in your breed ID if you're in like the Katahdin Association. If you don't do these things, you're not in these associations or programs, just don't put anything in there. It won't really affect anything. So again, for your ewes, put in the ID of the ewe, put in her birth date, put in the other information if you have it. Once you're done with that, you go to the RAMs tab. On the RAMs tab, it's laid out pretty much the same. Put in the RAMs ID, put in his birth date, put in the other information here if you know it. All the blue out here is information that will be calculated for you later on as you put in your lamb information. The cold tab here, the cold column, it's again a drop-down menu. If you no longer use this RAM, you just put an X in here and his information will be grayed out. It's still there if you want to go look at it, but it's grayed out so it cleans up the page a little bit as you get more RAMs entered in here. If you change your mind, we'll put that information back. His information is all there. So for the RAMs, put in their ID, put in their birth date, put in the other information if you have it. Now when it comes to lambing, comes time to do your lambs. You pick the year that you're working with, the lambing season, 2020 here. These would be the lambs that are born, say in the spring of 2020. I will caution you, if you decide to make changes to these tabs and delete them, do not delete the 2020 tab. Leave it the first year tab. Don't delete it, even if you don't put anything in it, because it's used in some of the calculations. So we select our year tab after we've entered our ewe and ram information. You'll notice the UIDs are already here. As you put them in the U tab, they show up here too. It gives you the age of what she is in the year 2020. Here is where you will mark if you're going to cull this ewe. Her information again will be grayed out. It will also be grayed out on the Use tab. So we'll put her back in here. For the year 2020, we're going to expose this ewe to a ram. We're going to expose her to ram 1. We're going to put in her breed date. When was she bred? She was bred on the 15th of October of 2019. Again, this pink information will be filled in for you later. You enter in the green areas. You put in her weight. How much did she weigh when she was bred? You can put in how much she weighed when you wean her lambs at the end of the year. The weaning weight is just information for you to have. The breeding weight is good information to have. It also is used in calculating how efficient this ewe is. So we can put that information in there. We come over here, and did we have to deworm this ewe this year? Yes, we did. So we'll put that in there. We can keep track of how many times we have to worm this girl. You can put in any treatments you needed to give her through the year. You can put in other notes for her for this year, so you can keep track of that. When we started this breeding season, when did we put the ram in? We put him in October 1st of 2019. And we took him out December 15th of 19. Now remember over here I said when we put in the breed date for this ewe, it calculated her due date. That's for this ewe. But since we put in the ram in and out information, we now have a range of when our lambs will be due. From February through May here, we know the lambs could be born in any time in here. If we get past this date very much and we've got ewes that have not had lambs, they're probably not going to. So you know when to kind of quit looking for your lambs. Now as you scroll across here, you'll notice the top of this turns yellow. That kind of alerts you to the fact that you're now in the lambing section. This is where you'll put in your information for the lambs being born. You just put in the lamb ID. So you put in their ID numbers that you give them. As you put this in, it tries to calculate your NSIP number for you. It gives you suggestions for registration numbers and scrapie tag numbers. If these numbers are not the numbers you want to use, you can simply click on that cell and put in whatever number you want to use there. It's just trying to save you some steps if you have your tags pre-printed and know what those numbers will be. So you can again put in the genome type if you've had them tested. If you've not had them tested, you don't have to put anything in. You can come back and put that in later when you have them tested, if you do. So you put in their lamb ID, you put in their birth date. When was this lamb born? You put in the sex of this lamb. This is a ewe. Who was its mother? It was born to Lily. You put in the sire for this lamb. It was ram 1. You scroll across, litter size. Well, this was a twin. And it was raised as a twin. So she had twins and she raised them both. Because we put in the second ranked lamb was born the same day. It's a ram lamb. Was also born to Lily from the same ram. It is a twin. It was raised as a twin. So now we can put in, we know the lamb's number, its birth date, its sex, its mother, its father, what size the litter was, how it was raised, lambing ease. We can simply put in, we didn't observe this lambing. I don't know how it went. I saw it, and she didn't need any assistance. She needed some assistance, hard assistance. You can put this information in. And it assigns a score to that. Mothering. How did the mother do for these lambs? Well, 1, she rejected these lambs. 5, she adopted lambs that weren't even hers. So she's a great mother. Maybe on this one, she accepted this lamb just fine. She didn't reject it. She did a real good job with it, but it was her own lamb. But now this ram lamb, she didn't do too well. She finally did accept it, but it took a little coaxing. So she didn't do so well with that one. We'll give her a 2 on that one. And you'll notice now, first CDT shot due. These turned yellow because based on the birth date, these shots are due. Well, we gave the shots. We gave them on 3/30 of 20. Well, now that we've marked that we gave the shots, the first shot, it highlights that because of their birth date and today's date, they are due for their second shot. So we gave them their second shot on the 15th. So now we've got records that when we gave the first shot, when we gave the second shot. You can put in the date that the ram lambs were banded if you band your ram lambs. Now you need to put in their birth weight. How much did these lambs weigh when they were born? The ewe lamb weighed 9.2 pounds. The ram weighed 10.8 pounds. You'll notice up here it gives averages. This yellow up here mostly gives you averages for a lot of these columns. It keeps track of how many lambs you had born, how many ewes, how many rams, things like that up here, general information. So again, in the green areas, we put in the information for each of our lambs. When we get ready to wean them, their 60-day weight, let's say this ewe weighed 52.4 pounds. The ram weighed 56.6 pounds. They should have been weighed on the 14th here, but we didn't get to it. We got them weighed on the 25th. So again, you can get your 60-day weights, the actual weight when you weighed them and the date that you weighed them. Even though it wasn't exactly 60 days, it will calculate out their average daily gain of weight from when they were born for 60 days, their 60-day corrected weight, and their 60-day adjusted weight. You'll notice these are different from their actual weights. Well, what is a 60-day corrected weight? Again, you go up here, click on that cell, and it will tell you. This is a calculated weight. It represents the weight the lamb would have been if you had weighed it on its 60th day, which we did not. So it calculated what it probably weighed at 60 days of age. 60-day adjusted weight. I use this weight a lot because this weight says this is what this lamb is calculated to have weighed on 60 days if it had been born as a single ewe lamb to a 3 to 6 year old ewe. So this allows you to see how this lamb compares to other lambs, like they were all born equally, and it's a head-to-head comparison. As you'll see, it according to this, had this ewe lamb and this ram lamb compared the same, the ewe actually outperformed the ram just a little bit, even though in reality the ram weighs more. But if you're deciding on replacement stock, what you're going to keep, you might want to look at how these adjusted weights are, so they're compared head to head against each other. Go to another green area. When did we wean these lambs? Well, we weaned them on the day that we weighed them. And if you don't wean your lambs, if you just let them run with your ewes all the time, try to put in a date you think that the ewe weaned them. It is used in some of the calculations. If you don't put in a date for when they were weaned, this ewe won't get credit for weaning this lamb. The ram won't get credit for this lamb. So put in a weaning date. You can put in a fecal egg count. You can put in their 120-day weights. Same thing. Put in the actual weight, when you weighed them, the date you weighed them, and it will calculate their average daily gains and their adjusted and corrected weights for 120 days. Put in a post-weaning fecal egg count if you keep that information. You can put in notes for each of your lambs. You put in foster information. Again, if you had triplets and you took one of those triplets and put it over on a ewe that had a single, you would put in here, what ewe did you foster this lamb onto? Again, these ewe information comes from the information you entered back here on this ewes tab. So that'll all be put in there for you. Real quick again, when the lambing season starts, you pull up the year you're lambing in, you put in the ram you used for each ewe, the date she was bred, put in her weights if you know them as your lambs are born. Let's see, we could put in the ram dates when the ram was with the ewes. We put in our lamb IDs. We put in the genome types if we know it. We put in their birth date, their sex, the mother, the father, the litter size, how they were raised. Did you notice them being born? How did she do accepting them? You've got the information here of when you gave CDT shots, the lamb's birth weight. We have their 60-day weights when you weaned them, and how their numbers here of how they grew. And all this is good information to have. And if you are in the NSIP program, the National Sheep Improvement Program, you'll need a lot of this information. And I've set this up so that as you put this information in throughout the lambing season, way out here to the side, if you keep scrolling, you will come to NSIP information. All this is put in for you as you enter it back on the earlier part of this page. So when you get ready to submit your information to NSIP, all you have to do is go to the status tab here, drop down menus of the status of these lambs, and then you can highlight this, copy it over, paste it to NSIP. It makes it pretty simple to keep all your records for that. So real quick again, you start out, you have an instruction page to help you get started. You have your use page, you have your ram page, and you have your lambing season page for each one. As you put this information in, you'll notice it starts putting it in on your U page. So on your Use tab, as you're putting information in year after year, it's keeping a running total of how this U is doing. The same thing for your rams. As you put information in, it's putting in information of how your rams are doing. So you can look at those over a period of time, or you can go in and look at each one on an individual year. How your ewes did, you can come over and see how each of your lambs did. And that's pretty much what I do to keep my records. It makes it pretty simple for me. If you have any questions about this, you can contact me. I'll try to explain it to you further, or just again go to your instructions page. So I hope this helps you a lot. Thank you. Well, hello, everybody. This is Richard Popham with P Katahdins, and I just wanted to talk real quick about a new feature that is in our record-keeping software. Now, this applies to both sheep and goats. I'm going to talk about the sheep part of it today because I'm also going to address another feature in the sheep part. But if you're a goat producer, when you open up the goat record-keeping software, you'll see a page exactly like this. Things are just relabeled for goats, and the dates are a little different because gestation for goats and sheep are a little bit different. But it will all look the same. It will all work the same, whether it's sheep or goats. So this new feature we've added, when you open up the record-keeping software, there is a new tab that says Management Calculator, and that will bring up this page. And I try to make this fairly simple so you don't have to do a lot of thinking on any of it. When you go to fill out this sheet and to look at it, you enter your dates in the boxes that are white. There's only 4 boxes that you have to enter dates into. You'll put in the date that you would like your first lamb or kid to be born, and then it will calculate for you when you should start flushing your ewes or your does. It will give a suggested date when you should put your ram or your buck in with those does and ewes. It will give you a suggested date for when you should pull him out, whether you want him to stay in for 2 estrus cycles or 3 estrus cycles. That's kind of up to you, but it gives you the dates for both of those. Then in this box, you put in the date that you actually did take him out from the girls. And it will tell you, based on this date, when is the last possible date you could have lambs or kids. I'll use this. I think it's pretty handy because I know after this date, if she has not lambed, she's not going to. It may be time to look into culling her or see what's going on with her. But I don't want to keep waiting for lambs when the ewes just fat. We get into the next section of this for gestation dates. Based on the dates you put in up here and when you put the ram in, it will tell you when to start your late gestation rations so you can get them girls up in good shape. When you should vaccinate the ewes with your CDT shot prior to lambing or kidding, It'll give you a date when you probably ought to start getting your stuff together and be ready for that. Your gloves, your gel, your record books, your record keeping, any of those types of supplies. So you'll have all that stuff on hand ready to go. The last section of this is your lambing dates. Now here's the two more boxes. You will put in the actual date that your lamb or kid was born, the first one and the last one. And that's going to give you an average when these offspring are 5 weeks old for a vaccination, 8 weeks old, 11 weeks old. Now remember, these dates are average depending on what you put in up here. So if you have a outlier that was born really late, it's going to throw these dates off a little bit. And that's where you can go to the rest of this spreadsheet. As you put in your information through here, there is a column here that's going to highlight yellow. When each individual lamb is ready for this first CDT shot, this will highlight yellow. So you get a bunch of these that are yellow. You can get those lambs up, give them their vaccination. If you've got 3 or 4 down here that are kind of late, you can look real quick and say, okay, these are yellow, I'll do those. And then later on, these will turn yellow and you can go back and do those. Now, after you've given the first shot, a couple of weeks later, the next column will turn orange so that they're ready for their next shot. Back on the management calculator page, the other thing I wanted to cover is a weaning date. This is, again, will be the average of when these lambs were born. So you'll have an average date of when they're 60 days old and it's time to wean them. As you're going through this record book, a new feature that has been added for the sheep producers, people have been asking about their wool. So I have added in a whole section for each year. When you first start on a page, we'll do the 2026 page here. You've got all your ewe information. As you scroll across the page, you'll notice the top changes up here. It changes to yellow. Now we've got into the lambing section. As you scroll on across, it becomes green. And this is the new section we've added for wool producers. You can simply put in here for each ewe, you can put in the date you sheared, the fleece weight, color. A lot of this stuff is drop-down menus. I use a lot of drop-down menus because it eliminates typos and things, and where one time you put in LT gray and the next time you put in light gray, and then you go back and try to search something and it doesn't find everything you need. So that's why I use drop-down menus. Anybody, this is a new feature. So if you are a wool producer and you see things on here that you would like changed, added, just let me know. I can add them to them. We can make changes to this and update this however it benefits the wool producers. I'm not a wool producer, so I'm just going on some information that others have told me, and I'd be glad to help you out and adjust this as it's needed for wool producers. As you enter this information on your yearly tab, again, just like the rest of the stuff, when you go back to the use tab, it will keep an average for those ewes on your use tab. So you'll know which ones consistently produce the most or the best wool, which ones consistently produce the colors that you want, or things like that.
So on that, for the ewes, because they might be sharing these ewes at a different time than when they're lambing, can they enter that information on the U tab as well, or do they need to stay on that 2026 or on that yearly tab?
You'll need to stay on the tab of the year that you're working in.
Okay.
Because everything back on the use tab is averaged over the years. And in fact, when you go through all of these sheets, if you look at the colors of these boxes, these kind of light greenish, yellowish columns, that's where you can put information in. Anything that's the pink areas, or on the Rams tab, the blue areas, you won't put information in there. That's going to take care of itself for you. So the only place you'll be able to put anything in, you can pick her color on the use tab. On the yearly tab, you put everything in, and then it will calculate an average back to how she's doing over the years. I did want to touch real quick back on the main record keeping page. I know a lot of people look at this and they think that's just way too complicated. I can't do that. If you're not used to using the spreadsheet or things, it can look sort of intimidating. But really all you're doing is putting in the basic information that pretty much everybody keeps. You're giving your lamb an ID number. You're saying what sex they are, when they were born, who the parents are, were they a twin, basic information, a birth weight, and all the rest of this is calculated for you. So I just take my record book to the barn and I write in there the basic information that's in that record book. Then I come back once in a while and I put it into the spreadsheet here and let it do all my calculations for me. It's not as daunting as it may look when you first look at this. And if anybody has any questions about it, you can contact me, you can contact Kelly, she can get you in touch with me, and I'll be glad to walk you through how you can use any of this. Also, each year, there will be a new sheet come out. This particular one is for 25 and 26. So the next year, get a hold of me again, and I'll give you the sheet for 27, and it will keep a running total of as long as you have this spreadsheet going. Mine goes back about 10 years. I can look back over my ewes and see how they've done over time. When you use this spreadsheet, you put all this information in for your lambs each year that they're born. And then I go back to the ewes tab. You can pay attention to the tabs down here. These are the ewes in my flock. This is just an example sheet. But this is really good because it gives you the running totals for averaged over years of how many lambs they've had, what their weaning percentage was, how much did they weigh. And it's a real good resource to go back when it's time to start culling your ewes, to go back and figure out who your true producers are and who are the ones that are kind of lagging behind. So this is a good page to go to when it's time to cull and decide, are you going to get rid of some of your older ewes? Are you going to bring in some new ones or keep some of your lambs? Maybe you want to keep the lambs from these ewes that are your top producers. So you need to look at this sheet, not just at lambing time, but also when it's time to cull, when you're anytime you're looking at how are my sheep doing, this is where you need to go to, and you can figure out who your stars are and who's not such a star. All right, is that?
Do you want to do that? You want to say that same thing for the Rams tab?
Oh, yeah. So when you look at all this for your ewes, there is also a tab for your rams. And this also will calculate which of your rams are performing. Especially if you run 2 or 3 rams in a year, you can say, that's what I do. And I could compare one ram to the other and say, this ram, his lambs averaged, 2 pounds heavier at weaning, or this one had a lot of really low birth weights or really big birth weights. So you can decide which ram you want to keep, which one you want to replace. So you get a running total on him too throughout the years.
Richard, I think too, I want to add, you were talking about how you take your record book to the barn with you. If you don't have a record book that you're using, we have two options. In your management calendar for 2026, there is a lambing and kidding record sheet within it that you can make copies of. And we also have our little pocket record books. And if you want one of those, you just need to get in contact with me and I can send one to you.
Yeah, that I generally use the pocket record book, but all of them are good. I will suggest if you have records at the barn, use your phone and take a picture of it once in a while. So when your goat eats it or your sheep eat it or it falls in a water bucket, you don't lose all your information.
That is such a good idea. So good. Okay. All right, that's good. You want to jump over to the wool part?
Yeah, let's you want to do it separate or just
No, I'll just keep going. I'll just split it up. I'll break up the
okay.
yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, and then if you want more specific data about your animals, that's why we encourage you to do the NSIP because they can take this information from this spreadsheet and pull all kinds of reports for you.
Yes. If you are doing NSIP, there's more features here that I'm going over. You'll see NSIP numbers listed here. And if you're doing NSIP, we can explain that more to you. But if you use this sheet and enter all your information in here, for this year, here's how each ewe did for this year. Here's the lambs that were produced. Here's how she did with wool. Here's how your rams did for that year. And all the way over here is all the information that you need to enter for NSIP. And this, other than this one column of status, all the rest of this will be filled in for you automatically as you put in the data while the lambs are being born. So all you have to do is, this again is a drop-down menu for the things that NSIP wants to see. You select which ones these are. You always want to leave an asterisk in these cells if there's nothing in it, so you can't even just choose that. And then you can copy and paste this over to NSIP pretty easily.
If you're to that point and you want to do that, make sure that you contact Richard. He can help you get that copied and sent over because that's what he does every year in order to get his information from them. So this way you don't have to do a spreadsheet for yourself and then a separate spreadsheet for information for NSIP. Everything is all contained in this one record keeping system.
Yes, this saved me a lot by having all this put in automatically for me. And just copy and paste. It only takes a few minutes to get your NSIP information sent to them. I will say that when I fill out this spreadsheet, every once in a while, I'll just save a copy of it to the hard drive of my computer, just so I know I've always got a backup just in case. I save this to a cloud storage somewhere, whether you use iCloud or whatever. One advantage of using this on a cloud storage is when I'm at the barn, I can pull this up on my phone and take a look at it. And pretty much everything works the same on the phone. It's a lot harder to use because it's smaller, but I can look this information up on my phone. I could even enter information on my phone when I'm at the barn. So that's why I store it all on a cloud storage, and I can access it wherever I'm at.
Yeah, absolutely. If you had a tablet, you could have that tablet at the barn, especially when you're weighing everybody. You could just put that information directly into the spreadsheet instead of writing it down and then going back to the house later and putting it back in.
Yes, yes.
And that's kind of nice too if you have a ewe that's lambed and you think there was some kind of a problem, you could pull that up and check her and see if she had that same problem last year.
Yes,
Or,
there is a spot on the yearly tab over here for your use. You can put notes in here or how she did that year, or that she prolapsed or she had some other difficulty. You can mark in here that you had to deworm that ewe this year.